Scorch. Scorch, are you there? All right, Scorch, let's find those babies and get you out of there.
Bingo. Spacecraft identified. Good. Now proceed with extreme caution.
Okay, Scorch, the babies should be straight ahead.
Copy that. No, we're too late. They've eaten the babies.
Scorch, they're right behind you.
What? Oh, I know, guys. Helpless babies, your chariot awaits.
Flying through the galaxy, supernova.
Be a pal, park this puppy, will you?
Activating remote assistance. Time to watch your old man bring in the Supernova 9 for a landing. How you do that. What? Okay, that's terrifying. Why do you always call me in jumbo head mode?
We've received an SOS from an uncharted sector of the galaxy. Prepare for Scorch's next mission.
Copy that, boss. Where are we headed?
He's going to the Dark Planet.
Lena, are you crazy? Now, let me rephrase that. They call it the Dark Planet because nobody ever comes back. It's like going into a black hole.
He leaves in an hour.
Now, listen, we know almost nothing about the Dark Planet. No one does. We need to postpone the mission.
I would, but
We need to think this through.
I have.
Computer, load all information on the Dark Planet.
All right, just a sec. Scanning files. Here we are, the Dark Planet. A remote M-class planet located 400 light-years past the Taurus molecular cloud. A strange and terrifying environment, the only known world in which evolution is taking place in reverse. It began with intelligent, attractive beings, but was soon overrun by ugly, aggressive, and quite terrifying, dim-witted creatures.
Yuck, gross.
As you can see, from gentle intelligence to savage stupidity, they have a strange custom of dividing themselves into what they call countries, whose boundaries they often dispute, which causes them to go to war. The pattern seems to be that the winner of the war then goes into decline while the loser prospers. We have also deduced that the people of this planet choose leaders according to the oddity and profusion of their facial hair. They worship money, soup, marker pens, something called dental floss, and this man, whose name is Cowell.
Oh, terrifying.
He's known for his strange accent, being very, very rich, showing off, wearing glasses indoors. I like him. 106 advanced life forms have landed on the Dark Planet to attempt friendly first contact. Not a single one has returned.
The basic way in which water beliefs, water culture has changed in India is that communities and people have kind of got dislodged from the water cycle. We were very, very particular, remembering daily how much water comes in our ecosystem, how you should live to ensure you don't waste it and pollute it, extremely strict cultural norms. You don't violate the banks of a river. The idea, deep idea that water is a planetary gift, a creation, a gift of creation. It is not private property, and therefore strict community regulation. Not thinking anymore of water as ecology, water as nature, but thinking of water as a sink for waste, which is what industrialism brings, which is what consumer culture brings. That has been the biggest change, which is why, while industry is polluting, while big corporations are mining our water, ordinary Indians are also participating in forgetting what the conservation culture was about. And our movements in India are a movement of remembering what this society is about, what our water conservation culture is about, and how we build a future on this.
We rejoin our conversation with Vandana Shiva, the renowned scientist and environmentalist from India, and Maud Barlow. And what's wrong with the market model?
The market, well, Vandana will have so much to say too, but basically, the UN has just put a huge price tag on nature now. The whole answer, not just to climate crisis, but to the water crisis and the forest crisis, is to put a dollar figure on nature and bring nature into the market system, so that basically all of nature has to compete with other uses for it in order to survive. And it basically, it's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for the wealthy of the world and the powerful within countries, claiming, well, they're, so much more than others and so much more than nature.
Vandana Shiva, you've been taking on corporations in India and around the world, but talk about the corporatization of nature.
I think the consequences of the corporatization of nature is first and foremost that at a time where we should be recognizing the integrity of nature, the prior rights of nature, nature's generosity, the generosity of the earth to provide us life itself, we are going headlong into the path of hallucination, where we've assumed we are not just separate, but we're continuing the idea of mastery and conquest over nature, adding to the technological tools like the idea that we can control nature through nuclear power. Now we want to control nature through market mechanisms and commodification. Why is that wrong? Firstly, it's wrong because nature is too rich, too diverse. We know too little about it. So whatever price we'll put will be partial. It'll never catch the whole story. We've not even begun to find out the soil organisms that give us food. We don't know how different species hang together in a forest to create that amazing biodiversity of the forest. So it'll be linear, it'll just be carbon functions when that's not the only function of a forest. And it'll definitely not take into account the integrity of species. I started Navdanya and saving seeds when I found out that corporations wanted to patent life. When life is not created by them, it is created sui generis. It is part of creation. But there's a second problem with the commodification of nature, and that is that it gives a new legitimacy to appropriate and alienate the resources that support people's lives, especially the resources of the poor. So what do we see with this new thinking of commodification of nature? We see the biggest land grab that Africa has ever seen, much worse than anything that happened during colonialism. In India, the land grab for mining, for nuclear power plants, for steel plants is literally becoming a war zone.
What does Earth democracy mean, Vandana Shiva?
For me, Earth democracy means first recognizing the fundamental fact that we are part of nature, that human rights and nature's rights are not separate because we are just one strand in this amazing mystery and miracle that the Earth has created in terms of life. But Earth democracy also means democracy in the everyday life of people, exercised daily by ordinary people, not the once in a 5-year or 4-year election. Because everywhere around the world we are seeing, you can bring someone to power and they don't represent your will anymore. So democracy under corporate control has mutated from of the people, by the people, for the people, into of the corporations, by the corporations, for the corporations. So it's the democratic rights of the people and the earth versus the fictitious corporate rights that corporations have assigned to themselves. And now they're costing the earth and people too much. They're bringing nothing in return. It used to be the case that when General Motors put out a car, it gave employment. It even gave salaries so people could buy that car. Today, the corporations give nothing back to society. They just take from nature, take from society, and want to rubbish this planet and rubbish our lives. And I think people are getting fed up.
Oh, good. Here we go again.
And as we are made to distrust our taps, as we are made to allow our public utilities to collapse, as we are made to imagine this is where our water security will lie, not in our aquifers, not in our rivers, not in our lakes, but in the plastic water bottle. We are making sure that most beings on the planet don't have water, that most human beings don't have access to water, and after a while, nobody has access to water. This is a recipe for wiping out the hydrological miracle which allows us to live on this planet, and one designed for this wiping out is these massive rerouting of rivers, taking all the Indian rivers and to the big cities. They're trying to bring the Ganga water from North India, from the Himalaya to Delhi, to then be sold only to the rich colonies because only they can afford to pay 15 times more. And taking all the Canadian rivers to take them to California.
Aquifer depletion and overdrawing surface waters have negative economical and environmental impacts. The U.S. is home to the world's largest aquifer, the Ogallala Aquifer in the Great Plains, and one of the world's largest rivers, the Colorado River, which reaches all the way to Mexico. While there has been work to conserve these resources, much of the damage is irreversible. So much water has been removed from the Ogallala Aquifer that it can't recharge during our lifetime. The Colorado River used to reach the Gulf of Mexico with great fervor, but now often runs dry before it even makes it there. The future of these two important resources is uncertain, as is the livelihoods of the people, plants, and animals that depend on them.
But we can only create abundance by knowing the limits of the water cycle. We can only create abundance by knowing the limits of the land. And it's within those limits we can genuinely create the kind of abundance that will remove the deprivation, that will remove the hunger, that will remove the thirst. But that will mean shifts, major shifts on our part, shifts that are happening, and I think that's the most important issue. These alternatives are already big. They're bigger than the dominant economy. It's just that the dominant economy is so exaggerated in our universities, it's exaggerated in our newspapers, its role is exaggerated in the financial pages, it's exaggerated in the TV, but the real economy is still the dominant economy, thank goodness. And in that real economy, people are making tremendous shifts. I know how fast the organic movement is growing in India and in other parts of the world, how fast movements to conserve biodiversity and seeds is growing, how global the commitment that water is a commons and cannot be privatized, that our biodiversity and genetic resources are commons and cannot be commodified. In fact, we have a huge campaign on treaties to reclaim our water, the genes, and food as the common basis of our life. And once we start making those small steps, all kinds of possibilities open. And I think that there is, at this point, a bigger possibility than actually even when we organized for Seattle. And for that, we've been helped by the corruption of the corporations. Thank you. And in this shift, the way I see it is a move away from corporate globalization and global war to an earth democracy. It's about what is the aim of human life. In India, we call it Purusharth. What do you live for? In corporate globalization, you live for profits and accumulation if you're a corporation, and you live for consumerism if you're not. And in earth democracy, maintenance of life on earth now and in the future is the end of human life. Improvement of well-being and happiness of all beings is the end of human life.
Hello, creature from another world. Welcome to Planet Earth. You are now a guest of the U.S. government. When interacting with the inhabitants of Earth, or humans, you should abide by the following basic etiquette. Handshake, good. Death ray, bad. No vaporizing. Modern Earth culture also frowns on the following: eating human flesh, probing, silver jumpsuits, abduction, communism, nudity. If you or someone you know is responsible for building the pyramids, we'd like to know about it. If you've been to the Bermuda Triangle and brought someone home with you, please return them immediately. We hope this has been an informative look at our planet.
Let's take a peek into that head of yours.
It burns! It burns!